If a woman doesn't respect you, you think the answer is to try harder, but trying harder is exactly what's making it worse. Let that land for a second. You've been pouring more effort, more attention, more patience into something that is draining you. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you know it. You feel it every time you send a message and stare at your phone waiting, every time you bend your schedule around hers, every time you swallow what you actually want to say because you're afraid of how she'll react. You feel it, and you keep going anyway because somewhere along the line, someone taught you that love means endurance, that patience is a virtue, that if you just stay consistent, eventually she'll see your value. She won't. Not like this. And that's not a shot at her. That's a truth about human psychology that nobody sat you down and explained. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to go deep on what's actually happening when a woman stops respecting you, why it happens, what it's costing you, and the one move that changes the entire dynamic. Not a manipulation tactic, not a game, a return to yourself. Before we go further, if this kind of straight talk clarity is something you need in your life, subscribe to this channel right now. Not for me. For you. Because the world is not going to sit you down and tell you the truth. Algorithms feed you content designed to soothe you. Friends tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to hear. So hit that button, because you deserve a place to come back to when the noise gets loud. Now let's get into it. Here's what it really means when a woman doesn't respect you. It doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean you're not attractive enough, successful enough, or emotionally intelligent enough. What it means is this. She has learned through your behavior that she doesn't have to. She has not decided to disrespect you. She has responded to the signals you've been sending. Unconsciously, consistently, and in ways you probably didn't even notice, you have been signaling that your approval is available at a discount, and she has priced you accordingly. That's the hard truth. Let's back up and talk about the misconception first, because it runs deep. The misconception is that respect is earned through investment, that the more you give, the more you'll be valued, that demonstrating your feelings openly, being available, being flexible, being endlessly understanding, all of that will communicate worth. This sounds right. It sounds noble. It sounds like the kind of man you were told to be. The problem is that in the context of attraction and respect, it communicates the exact opposite. It communicates need. And need, when it's unbalanced, repels respect. Think about it this way. When you're immediately available at every hour, you communicate that you have nothing else demanding your time. When you absorb disrespect without consequence, you communicate that disrespect is acceptable. When you pivot your plans to accommodate her moods, you communicate that your plans aren't real to you. And when you keep showing up for someone who is giving you nothing back, you communicate that you believe that's what you deserve. You don't realize you're doing it. That's the cruelest part. You think you're being strong. You think you're being a good man. But what she's seeing, what she's feeling at a deep instinctual level is a man who doesn't fully believe in his own value. And that absence of self-belief is not attractive. It is not respected. And it is not loved the way you want to be loved. Now let's talk about why this happens. Why do men end up here? It usually starts early. You were taught explicitly or by observation that love is conditional on performance, that if you're good enough, helpful enough, present enough, you'll earn someone's affection and respect. You watched it in households. You absorbed it from culture. You were rewarded for self-sacrifice and penalized for asserting your needs. Over time, you developed a relational operating system built on one core belief. My value is not inherent. It is something I must demonstrate. So you demonstrate, you perform, you overgive, you underask, you manage her emotions so she doesn't feel uncomfortable, because if she feels uncomfortable, she might leave. And if she leaves, that means the belief was true all along, that you weren't enough. That's the trap. And you've been living inside it without even knowing it has walls. Now let's talk about what it's costing you, because it's not just this relationship, it's not just this woman. What it costs you is the slow erosion of yourself. Every time you swallow your boundary, you lose a small piece of your self-respect. Every time you chase someone who is retreating, you train yourself to equate love with rejection. Every time you dim your own instincts to preserve someone else's comfort, you get a little further from the man you're supposed to be. You stop saying what you think. You stop doing what you want. You stop pursuing what you care about. You start making decisions based on fear of loss rather than clarity of purpose. And over months, sometimes years, you look in the mirror and you don't fully recognize the person looking back at you. That's not love. That's slow disappearance. And here's the brutal irony. The more of yourself you sacrifice trying to hold on to her respect, the less of you there is to respect. So what's the reframe? The reframe is this. Respect is not given to the man who tries the hardest. Respect is given to the man who needs it the least. Not because he is cold, not because he is detached, but because he is grounded. He is rooted in something that doesn't shake when a woman changes her tone. He has a life, a purpose, standards, and he is not willing to trade those for temporary approval. And that groundedness, that solidity, that unshakable quality, that is what creates genuine, lasting respect. Now let me describe this man to you, not as a fantasy, as a model, as a direction. The man who commands respect is not the loudest man in the room. He is the most settled. He walks into a situation and he is not scanning for validation. He is not reading expressions, trying to figure out if people approve of him. He has already decided about who he is. He has a code. He has lines he will not cross, things he will not accept, and he doesn't need to announce them because his behavior communicates them clearly. When a woman tests him, and they do, all humans test each other, he doesn't crumble and over-explain. He doesn't explode and get dramatic. He simply does not move. He holds his position with the kind of calm that says, "This is who I am, take it or leave it." And that calm is not arrogance. It is not coldness. It is absolute self-possession. It is the product of a man who has done the inner work, who knows his values, who has faced his fears, and who has decided that living on his own terms is non-negotiable. This man has a purpose that matters more to him than any single relationship, not because he doesn't want connection. He does. He wants it deeply. But he understands that desperation destroys what it chases. So he builds, he focuses, he has goals that get him out of bed in the morning before anyone else is awake. And that focus makes him magnetic in a way that no amount of effort or availability ever could. He sets limits. Not as punishments, not as ultimatums designed to manipulate, but as honest expressions of what he will and will not participate in. When someone treats him poorly, he names it or he removes himself from it, quietly, without theatrics, because his peace is not for sale. He values himself, not performatively, not by posting it online or demanding that people acknowledge it, but in the quiet, daily choices he makes. He keeps his word to himself. He honors his own schedule. He protects his time and energy. He invests in his own growth even when nobody is watching. And because he values himself, others naturally begin to mirror that valuation. That man is available to you. He is not a different person. He is the version of you that exists on the other side of some hard, honest decisions. So let's get to the action. Here is what you actually do. You stop performing. Right now, today, you stop doing things designed to earn her approval rather than express your genuine self. Compliments that are calculated, favors that are strategic, conversations where you're saying what you think she wants to hear rather than what you actually believe. Stop. Every time you perform for her approval, you place her opinion above your own. You tell her and yourself that what she thinks matters more than what you know. That is the foundation of disrespect, and you built it. You hold your plans. The next time she asks you to rearrange your life for her convenience, and it's not an emergency, you don't. You say, "I have something on that day," and then you say nothing else. No over-explanation, no guilt, no lengthy justification, because your time and your plans are real. They matter. And behaving as if they don't because you're afraid of her reaction is not love. That is fear dressed up as consideration. You let silence work for you. One of the most powerful things you can do when disrespect happens is simply go quiet. Not the passive-aggressive silence of punishment, the clear, deliberate silence of a man who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. When you stop chasing words with more words, when you stop filling every gap with reassurance, when you let space exist without rushing to collapse it, you communicate something profound. You communicate that you are not desperate for this, that your baseline is not anxiety, that you are fine, on your own, without her constant approval, and that is deeply, deeply attractive. You redirect your energy. Every hour you spend analyzing her behavior, rehearsing conversations in your head, wondering what she meant by that tone, wondering why she's been distant, wondering what you did wrong. That is energy leaving your body and entering a void. Redirect it. Put it into something that builds you. Work out. Build the skill, pursue the goal, create something, advance something, connect with people who see your value clearly. Because the man who is actively building something doesn't have the bandwidth to obsess over a woman who is giving him nothing back. And that shift in attention, even more than any technique, is what changes the dynamic. Either she notices and responds to the man you're becoming, or she doesn't, and you realize you've outgrown the need for her to. You name what you won't accept. The next time something happens that crosses your line, you say so, calmly, directly, without drama. You don't write a paragraph about how her behavior made you feel. You don't build a legal case. You simply say, that doesn't work for me, and you mean it. And if it happens again, the consequence is real, not because you're punishing her, but because you've told her and yourself that you have standards, and standards mean nothing if they don't hold. You decide what you actually want, not what you think you should want, not what looks good, not what seems mature or evolved or modern. What do you actually want from this relationship? What are the non-negotiables? What would genuinely make you happy? And then you ask, honestly, is this situation providing that? Not with the filter of hope, not with the lens of who she might become or how things might change. Right now, as it is this working? If the answer is no, you already know what the move is. Here is the part of this conversation that I want you to sit with. You are not doing any of this to make her respect you. You are doing this because you respect yourself. That is the entire distinction. The moment you start making changes as a strategy to earn her validation, you are back in the same loop with different tactics. The move that changes everything is not a technique, it is a decision. The decision that you are no longer available to be treated as an option by someone who should be treating you as a priority. The decision that your peace, your purpose, and your self-respect are not bargaining chips. The decision that you would rather be alone and whole than together and slowly disappearing. That decision is the move. And when you make it, something interesting often happens. Not always, but often. She notices. Because what you've been asking for through all your effort and accommodation, she's been unable to respect or appreciate, not because of a flaw in you, but because the energy behind it was need. When the energy becomes self-possession, the entire dynamic can shift. But here is what matters more. Even if it doesn't shift, even if she doesn't come around, even if this particular situation ends, you are no longer who you were. You have reclaimed the one thing that makes every future relationship, every future situation, every area of your life fundamentally different. You have reclaimed yourself. You are not the man who waits to be chosen. You are the man who chooses. You are not the man who performs for approval. You are the man who acts from values. You are not the man who disappears into someone else's needs. You are the man who builds something worth showing up for. You are the answer to the question you've been asking. Stop looking for it in her eyes. It was always in yours. If today's message hit something real for you, subscribe to this channel right now. There is more of this coming. More clarity, more truth, more of the conversation the world keeps trying to cancel because it makes certain people uncomfortable. This is a space for men who are serious about building something real inside themselves. You belong here, and you'll know you belong here because somewhere in this script, you felt less alone. I'll see you in the next one.